days, the mother is making something more similar to colostrum than milk, because she's essentially nourishing an embryo baby. At about 90 days, the baby will start to nurse and release, nurse and release. At that point, the mother shifts over to making milk instead of colostrum. The baby will remain in the pouch. First time it'll stick its face out of the pouch is at 6 months of age. First time it'll jump out of the pouch is 7 months of age. And the mother may or may not wean it near immediately when it comes out of the pouch, but they also may let it continue to drink milk for as much as until the baby is 10 or 11 months of age. So if you want to bottle feed kangaroos, you absolutely have to take them right at 7 months to bottle feed them, because should the mother wean the baby, you're never ever going to get it onto a bottle after that. And their odds of survival are poor if the mother weans the baby at 7 months. We feed them here for a whole lot longer than they actually need it nutritionally. It's a social thing. So the only way you get a friendly kangaroo is by bottle feeding it. So we start bottle feeding them at 7 months, and they'll continue to take bottles until they are about 14 months. So the two that are in here, peeking through the window right there, those are our last two bottle babies. And they still do drink bottles, but they are right at 14 months old right now. And so these are the newest ones.
I figure they'd be bigger than that after a year.
They grow really fast, but you have to consider that when they go into the pouch, they're the size of a jelly bean.
Yeah.
So to go from a jelly bean to that in 14 months is pretty good. And when we're counting how many months old they are, that's counting from jelly bean, not counting from pouch. So some people count a kangaroo's age by their out of pouch date. So some people would refer to those as being 7 months instead of 14 months. We just count from the start. That's the other reason these two are Tom and Jerry. It started out they were going to be named Ben and Jerry, but they chase each other around and scuffle around all the time, and pretty fun.
How before they lose their baby fluff?
They don't actually have baby fluff. They're fuzzy because where we got them from, their kangaroos live outside,
Oh, okay.
and so that's their winter coat.
Oh, God. Sorry, buddy.
The babies, those babies we got in the summertime, and they were smooth like they are now when they came here, and they came from the same breeder.
Okay.
All four of these have the same father, but these two will never be breeder males. These two will be, unless we sell them to someone who wants a breeder. But if we keep them, they'll be neutered pets. Kangaroos actually make decent pets. They just have to be outdoors because you can't housebreak them. And you need a 6-foot fence that's, maybe half acre for them to hop around inside of. I don't know, quarter acre. Our fence outside for our kangaroos is 200 and something by 75.
Yeah.
And just enough that they can hit top speed in every direction. USDA requirement is 10 square feet. 10 by 10, 100 square feet outside. I'm like, that's insane. They can jump 20 feet from standing still.
Yeah. That's pretty tiny.
It's kangaroos that would never want to stay jumping in life. So, pretty weird. They have requirements that are ridiculously over-restrictive, and then they have other requirements that are ridiculously under-restrictive. Do you milk cows?
Not in a long time.
Looks like a cow milk shirt.
No.
What is it?
Barstool, the sports page.
Oh, Barstool.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was I was taking that to be like a milking store.
Yeah,
That's
it
just
does
ain't
look
no
like
hobby. I'm like in a hobby farm.
Yeah, no, I grew up on horse farming. It's you think it's a hobby, and then you're like, no, it's a full-time job after work.
Yeah. What kind of horses?
Hey, got saddlebred Tennessee walking.
Okay.
It's my dad's retirement. It's like his play. Ever since he retired from the railroad.
I worked at Heather Moore Farms in Alabama. That was a hybrid, high-shod saddlebred farm. But I hate the high shoes. It's hard on their back. So I quit that one pretty quick. I still have a walking horse.
No, Dad, no. We just do normal. We don't do high shoes. If anything, whenever Dad showed when I was younger, it was just speed racking, low intensity. We've never had a horse that has lived under 35 years.
Yeah. farrier here is Mitchell Price, and he's a speed racking guy.
Yeah.
He actually was just about out of speed racking because he was about to have surgery on both of his hips.
Yeah.
One day he was out here, I'm like, man, you understand about divine healing, right? And he's like, what? And I'm like, oh, let me pray over it. He was fine the next day. And he's back to speed racking. He was back to speed racking his horse the next day after, that was a Monday. He had surgery for both hips scheduled for Wednesday of that week. And he's been fine ever since. But kangaroos, so they'll come out of the pouch at 7 months. From there, the gestational thing gets pretty weird. So kangaroos were designed to birth as many babies as they can nourish and no more. So after their first baby, you know, they're birthing something. You're welcome to sit on these chairs if you want, but the kangaroos will get in your face if you get down. So after their first baby, the mothers are just, they'll breed back near immediately because, you know, they're birthing something the size of a jelly bean, so it's not a traumatic birth. And they will be pregnant in both uteruses all of the time. So when a female kangaroo, buddy, we'll get the bottles in just a minute, all right? And so a female kangaroo continuously makes a chemical that is similar to Pitocin. That's what you give to a human female to induce labor. And the Pitocin takes about 2 days to build up enough level in the mother's body to induce labor. So they will continuously make the Pitocin. At 33 days, if they have of gestation, the mother will, he's going to pee right in front of us again. Get them both. So at 33 days, the mother will birth the baby. When the baby crawls up into the pouch and latches onto a teat, the act of suckling causes the female to make a second chemical that's like a blocker for the Pitocin. If the baby doesn't make it up in 2 days, then boom, fire two. It will birth from the second uterus. So every time it births a baby, it gets 2 shots at a baby making it to the pouch and latching onto a teat. I grew up seeing Winnie the Pooh, so I thought the pouches went like this. They don't, they go like that. So it's not as hard to crawl as you might otherwise think. But they do have to crawl on their own up to their mother's pouch. So if at 33 days of gestation it already has a baby nursing, it's not having Pitocin to birth again. So what will happen is the baby will do a thing called embryonic diapause, just freeze frame. The baby will remain exactly the way it is in the uterus. It will not progress, it will not regress, it will remain exactly the way it is. And it can remain that way for days, weeks, months, or even years. So whenever its prior baby stops nursing, that turns off the blocker from the Pitocin, and 2 days later, fire two. It'll birth another baby. The exception to that is if resources in the area are so plentiful that the kangaroo literally becomes overweight. If their body fat content gets too high, they will increase the production of the Pitocin, cause it to birth a second baby, but then once it's got 2 suckling, that will double up the blocker so it can't possibly birth a third. But it'll all the time have 2 on deck, ready to birth on 2 days' notice. I'm going to make their bottles now so we can feed them.
Like, I want my pouch.
Oh, what's your
When they try to jump in, it's pretty funny.
head first?
Oh, wait, oh, hang on.
He's right there.
I'm sorry. Hey, buddy, we're about to eat our breakfast. Don't go to bed. Stay awake, sleepyhead.
How do the kangaroos interact with us, like the camels or the big almonds and stuff?
They just kind of hop around. Like a lot of times we'll let them out in the field, or they kind of end up running out there anyway. And they don't really bother each other. What these guys don't understand is the tortoises, because they were out here walking around and they're like, "What is that?" You know, to them, I think it's like just a big moving rock. You know. And then the armadillo, sometimes they get a little like, "What is that?" Because it just kind of scurries around and stops, and it doesn't have any feet to them.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Is that a potato, or like, is that another small rock?" Where you guys from?
We're from here, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, well, we live in Cleveland right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm from Athens originally. She's
Yeah.
actually from Delano.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we've been trying to get it out there so people can see, and for a while it's like none of the locals knew, so I was like, we gotta put up some more videos.
So I was gonna say, my family's from here, and we have a big gathering just about every Sunday, so if you want a bunch of kids out here, I can make that
Oh
happen.
man, it's awesome. I have an 8-year-old daughter and she loves it. Sometimes she's like, I just want to go to work with you, and I'm like, I know.
I'll say my oldest niece, she'll be 4 in May, and every year she's terrified of Santa, but she craves taking pictures with the Easter Bunny. This will be right up her alley.
And then a cool thing we do is we have unicorn birthday parties. So they take one of the small white ponies, paint it made purple, and put a horn on it.
Yeah.
And during the snowstorm, nobody cares. We stay upstairs and like camel on there. But it has the first hidden bunker, like you know, Adventures in Narnia.
Yeah.
So you open up these wardrobes, and there's a kid's bunker in there. And then you can see those openings right there?
Yeah.
Those openings, you look down through the bunk room at the animals.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty fun. She's like, I want my birthday party to be there. I'm like, me too.
Well, I asked you, what is it, Tom? No, is that Jerry? No, I think that was Jerry. His ears are a little bit longer.
Yeah, we had originally, done Ben and Jerry, and I just hadn't seen cartoons in so long. And I was like, yeah, the mice and the cat. And they're like, that's not Ben and Jerry, that's Tom and Jerry. I was like,
Jerry's his ice cream.
yeah, I was like, okay. I was like, we're changing. I was like, that's a lot easier to make cartoons with them.
Come here. Come here.
And that one's Llama Del Rey.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Tyler. Like Steven Tyler, dude looks like a lady.
Yeah.
That's the reason he's too pretty to be a boy.
Let him go.
And that's the reason you couldn't have 2 unneutered males, because they would kill each other.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
At what point or what age do we have to separate them?
If they're not neutered, like probably 1.5 years. Ruff is only like 3 or 4 years, and he's almost 100 pounds.
Wow.
And when he stands up, like those videos that you see, he's already starting to look like that. Because he's just like gets bigger and bigger. I think the record is close to 7 feet
Oh, wow.
and almost 200 pounds.
He's almost 6'7", so.
Yeah.
If I get on the decompression table with the chiropractor,
Yeah.
where's the twig and come?
As soon as they get those bottles, they're like your best friend.
I said, this one's been kicking me all morning, which is what's funny. Well, I mean, it's just like,
Yeah, when they're little, it's not bad.
I think it hurts really bad when you kick one of the adults.
They just kind of come up to us, and you can tell if they're kind of being aggressive, and all you really have to do is just move to the side.
They can't kick sideways.
Yeah, like their hips aren't made to kick sideways. Also, kangaroos never go backwards. That's the reason that emus and kangaroos are on the Australian crest, because their motto is like always forward. Yeah,
They can't go back.
yeah. But emus are dumb. Like, you think chickens are dumb? Emus are even dumber.
Chickens are hilarious.
Yeah.
What was funny was when we pulled into the front gate up there, hit the button to get let in.
Uh-huh.
And there's this one chicken that had like rock star hair. He just kept running in front of us and circling didn't matter.
Doing this number.
And there's peacocks flying around, and then Tom the turkey, he'll leave the pen every once in a while, but he's really nice, and you can even pick him up.
What is your baby shoes? Oh, they're just now that nothing to do with us.
I know.
Do you have food?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're ready.
So I'm trying to get a picture of you playing with them.
When they're we can pasture them with other animals or just kangaroos?
Yeah, and well, no, not other animals, just kangaroos. Occasionally they'll be let out in the back area just for sun and stuff, maybe today since it's dried off. And then they've been playing with Rosie and Josie a little bit. We had a couple Australians come to see the sloths, and they're like, no kangaroos. They're our version of deer.
Yeah.
They're invasive, they hang out on the side of the road. A lot of people are like, oh, they're cute. And then, yeah, but when you have 20 or 30 of them standing on the side of the road and jumping in front of your car, and then they eat lots of farmers' crops.
I know kangaroo meat's like really popular in Australia.
That's what I asked him. I was like, man, have you had any jerky? I bet that would be good. And he goes, yeah. He's like, a lot of people bring it in, but it's just like anywhere. Like people in the city, a lot different than people out in the country. They're like, yeah, we eat jerky. Other people are like, no.
Yeah.
We were in Colorado on vacation a few months ago, and we don't have elk around here.
Right.
And of course, we're in the national park, and there's elk, like a giant bull and a bunch of cows. So we were taking pictures, and someone was like, "Oh, we're gonna stop for the cows," and we were just like, "No, not everybody has this where they're from."
Yeah. Elk and moose are huge. I drove semis for a little bit and we were coming through Idaho.
Yeah.
And there was like a whole herd of them crossing the road, and their antlers are like up on past the roof of the semi, or like the hood, and I was like, that's a big animal.
And what gets me is like, you'll have, like, so the town we stayed in Colorado is called Estes Park. It's
Uh-huh.
on the hills of the Rocky Mountain
Yeah.
National Park. And there's a herd of elk in the town, and the town has so many visitors try to get close to the elk that they have people that are like back away from the
Oh,
elk.
yeah.
It's like,
All right, guys, here are bottles for these babies.
Thank you.
Did he come on all right? Did he come on all right?
Yeah.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, it's not time to sleep, it's time to eat.
Do we need to stand up or?
Yeah. Or,
Go. These ones eat 3, those ones eat 2. But those ones eat solid food all day long. These ones are still just on bottles. They'll start on their first crumble food in about another week and a half.
They do have some teeth.
Smile.
They start eating solid food when they get to about 10 pounds. They already nibble a little bit of some hay, but it's not for their nutrition. It's just,
Just to try it out.
ooh, you're a good eater. Look what you call.
Knocking the bottom out of this one.
I know, right?
Turn off or anything?
No,
Okay.
our first sloth people are here.
Okay.
We're gonna go on to that in a minute. And
Are we doing them at the same time, or is it flash first?
flash first. So we have 3 in first group that are all 3 together.
I know. They look like giant flames. Like,
Oh, they're so soft. I didn't notice them being soft.
I want to pet the camels too.
They're probably not soft.
No, probably. They're probably coarse like Walter. Hang on a second, buddy. There's more. Oh, he's not wanting to give this up. I know. It's so soft.
They're like, this is like a patches kangaroo.
I know,
Little
right?
short, a little better.
I think you got Jerry and I've got Jerry.
You got the bigger one.
Oops, sorry, Tom. There you go. Almost there. Chug, 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 chug. Come on. Going out the honky tonk. That little drain on a while.
Look at the little freckles on their nose.
I made a joke. I was like, chug, chug, chug. It's dollar out the honky tonk. And I was like, oh wait, that'll be good for the live stream.
Well, you know, one of us doesn't have a filter anyway and often says things that ought not to be said on live. But it is what it is.
I think that's. Ooh, you got it.
Well, I don't ever curse, so you know that isn't a problem. But I do say plenty of stupid things.
Sometimes it's like an open air podcast, you know? That's what it turns into.
It's like an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. You have another bottle, or is that all you got?
That's all they get. Alright guys, we're gonna be doing a sloth encounter here with Flash. Getting all the cameras set up for y'all. Hope everybody's having a great morning. I know I am because I'm alive and it's Saturday and we're out here hanging up with a bunch of animals. We won't be able to respond to stuff while we're doing an encounter, but we are located in Benton, Tennessee. You can get all information on our website, Ocoee Riverside Farm.com. And we'll be having a lot more exciting merch coming along soon here in the next week. Trying to get this all set up for y'all because looks like my tripod's tilting a little bit. And we're working on getting better equipment. We're gonna have these lights fixed and we're gonna have a cool mural in here. Hey everybody, we're gonna be doing an encounter here with Flash and people are gonna be in, so I won't be able to respond to anything. So if I miss a message, just send it to me a DM. I'm trying to fix the lighting here for you because it looks a little funny to me. That one's not too bad. Does it have any other trees to go to? It sure does. You see that white door behind them? That's a 2-story enclosure that goes all the way up. But he just comes out here to eat breakfast.
So if you're here, I'm sure you've seen us on social media, you probably know that we live stream pretty much everything we do. I just always ask you're not on witness protection running from the law here with your wife instead of your girlfriend. You're also gonna see you at work when you call in sick, something like that.
All right, good. Let's head on in. And so Kevin live streams he's our social media guy. He live streams pretty much
You
everything
guys
we
can
do.
go all the way in.
And I'm sure he told you guys he'll cut up probably a shorter version that'll be on all of the platforms later. So if you want to download it, do download it in the first 30 days or so because they push off the back over time. All right. Thanks for coming out today, guys. And I'm going to be busy, so when you're done, just show yourselves out. And but you're not on a bum's rush or anything. All right, and just let those two come. Just leave the door open. They'll all hop together. Just when you go out the door, don't let any kangaroos get loose. They're hard to catch. They go out the other end when they go outside to play. All right, y'all, we are here for a sloth encounter this morning. The reason why I asked what I asked is usually when somebody pulls up the gate and says we're here for an encounter, someone in the car doesn't know what the encounter is, and I make sure that I don't spoil the surprise if it's a surprise to someone in the vehicle.
Yeah, gotcha.
And it is very often the case that someone in the car is the sloth enabler and someone else in the car is the sloth lover.
I just love rubber. Can I touch you?
Just a minute, I'll go over the basic rules of the game with
He
you.
wants to touch you.
He does, yes, he's a very friendly sloth.
Is this black?
This is Flash, yep. All right, guys, the rules of the game. So you can stand approximately this close to the sloth to take a picture. You can stand on both sides of them so you can all take a picture at once. If you need somebody to take your picture all three together, Kevin is pretty handy with a camera, as you can see. And here's the rule. This is food. This is not food. He can't see the difference. His vision is horrible. So you put this one in his mouth, and you do not put this one in his mouth.
Gotcha.
Don't put it in his mouth, don't put it in my mouth. Either one of us are likely to bite your finger if you stick it in our mouth. And so he's looking for his food, and you just give it to him like this. If you hand it to him in his hand, he's likely to drop it on the floor, and we don't feed him off the floor. So any that he drops on the floor are just trash, and just throw them in the sink or something. We'll get them later. This is his breakfast. You guys are going to feed him this whole breakfast right here. And he is more interested in us while he's eating than he is when he's done. So you don't necessarily want to jam every bit of it into him in the first 5 minutes, because we're going to be here with him for about 30. And then you guys are on the VIP, so you're going to move on to the next one after that. So, hey, Flash, come down here a little bit, buddy. Come this way so they're not all jammed up in the corner, huh? Yeah, good boy.
Oh my God. Are they fairly intelligent animals?
Friendly animals.
Where's he from?
There you go. He comes to us from a breeder in Michigan. The next one you're going to see came from a breeder in Florida. And I am careful at the start and the end of all of my encounters. This is more for our online audience, that you can see us doing the things that we do and get the mistaken impression that it would be a good idea to buy yourself a sloth. Never buy yourself a sloth. That's a horrible idea. There are very few reputable breeders that will sell a sloth to you. That most people that are out selling sloths have kidnapped these poor animals out of the rainforest. They will not live long, and you will not have a good experience with that. Please don't go out and buy yourself a sloth. And please don't participate in sloth encounters where they're booking these dudes 10 hours a day in 15-minute slots and pull their teeth and stuff like that. Be careful where you do a sloth encounter. Make sure it's a reputable place that cares about their animals.
Are you free?
PSA done. All right, so you guys are welcome to feed him his breakfast, and he's just looking for it. Hey, come here, Flash. So sloths are slow, but sloths are slow in ways that you don't think about a sloth being slow. So sloths are slow not only in their movement, they're slow in their digestion, their metabolism, their metabolic processes. They're slow in every single way that sloths can be slow. This particular sloth is a two-toed sloth. Alive in the world today, there are two-toed sloths and three-toed sloths. A few basic differences between them. A three-toed sloth has more vertebrae in their cervical spine. So a three-toed sloth will turn its head around 270 like an owl does. Two-toed sloth has fewer in the cervical spine. Three-toed sloth has 3 vertebrae of a tail. Two-toed sloth has no tail. They have the same number of vertebrae from end to end, so that means that the two-toed has more vertebrae between their hips and their shoulders. So when the two-toed sloth, the uniqueness of their movement is that the two-toed sloth is like a slinky. So if you watch, he is going to turn until his shoulders are basically 180 out from his hips. You can just keep on cranking it around. And his core strength is crazy. See the way he just goes up like that. So that's because he has more vertebrae between his hips and his shoulders, so he can turn until his hips are basically 180 from his shoulders. So a two-toed sloth is more movement-wise like a slinky. A three-toed sloth is more like an owl. The two-toed sloths are moderately bigger and a little bit quicker than a three-toed sloth. But to describe a two-toed sloth as quicker than anything, you could only be talking about a three-toed sloth. They collectively are the world's slowest mammals. Online, it will tell you that a sloth only moves about 12 feet per minute, even in the trees. In my personal experience, that's not correct. This guy, if you look in here, this is not where he lives. This is where he does encounters. Where he lives is in there. That goes up 20-some feet. And when we open the door and say, "Hey, Flash," he comes scurrying right down. And it takes him about 30 seconds to go from the top of that down and out here. So that's probably more like 40 feet per minute when he's like ready to let's go. And usually he's at the door here waiting for me. If you see most of the smears on the glass, they're on the other side. That if for any reason I'm late one day, he's in there on the other side just
Waiting. That's funny.
just beating the heck out of the door like
Oh, yeah.
Speed of
He
a
like
sloth.
knocks?
Yeah, well, yeah, but he knocks like this fast.
Come on, dude.
We should make a tape of that sometime when he's
Yeah,
beating the door like that,
yeah,
pounding it down. Yeah, if a sloth is telling you to hurry up, you gotta check your life.
right.
But, so yeah, he,
Can we
So-
really stand that close like you were?
yes, you really can stand that close. When I say don't stick your finger in his mouth or my mouth,
Yeah.
neither one of us are likely to bite you, but if you stick your finger in my mouth, look out, right? So, yeah, you can really stand that close. If you move him back down this way a little bit, the light is a little better, so you get your
Okay.
pictures a little better. And,
Like this, huh? See if
yeah, just walk down here, he'll follow you.
Buddy,
You don't really even have to coach him, just walk down here and he'll be like, oh, well, I guess we're heading down here.
come on,
Yeah,
come on,
he likes people.
come on. Come down here.
Hey, Flash, come here, buddy.
Does he ever come off of there?
Well, he lives in there. This
Yeah.
is only where he does his encounters.
But, I mean, does he ever go to the floor?
Oh, no.
No.
So, you see some horrible videos where people are coaxing the sloth across the floor. I'm like, huh, way to just make your animal miserable and show
Yeah.
yourself online doing it, right? That's,
Oh,
no, they hate to be on the
what are
floor.
you doing there,
I
Flash?
actually may have to coach him. I guess he thinks his breakfast is out.
Here, Flash.
Hey, come here, buddy.
Okay.
He's like, no, done with
He's
you.
like, well, is it nap time or what? Oops, sorry. Hey, Flash, come here, bub. Hey, we still have our breakfast.
We must not be very hungry.
What are you doing, buddy? Hey,
Oh,
come here, Flash.
Cool. You are a
Wakey,
cool dude.
wakey. Come here. He's like, oh, for Pete's sake.
Quit showing me off.
Come here.
How old is he?
He's 5, almost 6.
How long did they live typically?
In the wild, they live maybe 20 years. In captivity, they live about 50.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're prey animals, not predator animals.
Yeah.
So in the wild, what they're gonna die of is being caught by a
Yeah.
predator.
Yeah,
In captivity, not so many
Right.
predators in this room.
right.
Now, there are places that say that a captive sloth will only live, a couple weeks, a couple months, because they're so stressed by being captive. Well, that's a wild animal that they've caught out of the
Right.
rainforest, and yes, that's absolutely
Of
true.
course.
They will only live a couple weeks, couple months, if you've kidnapped them out of the rainforest.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe he wants to be down there, whatever.
All right, dude. Oh, okay. Wait,
Yeah,
let him
huh?
finish that.
All right, so slow in their movement, slow in their digestion. So a sloth eats a tremendous amount of food.
Oh, really?
10% of their body weight every single day.
Come down here.
That's sort of a ho-hum number until you put it to human perspectives.
Come here.
I weigh, after the holidays weight is close to 200 pounds. So that would be me rolling up to Outback and saying, give me 20 of those 16-ounce porterhouse steaks,
Oh,
right?
goodness.
10% of my body
Yeah.
weight.
Wow.
So obviously I could not eat that much food, but he eats that every day.
Are they
So
allowed to pet or not?
yes, you can pet him. You pet him like this.
Yep.
You don't scratch him. You
Right.
don't rub him,
Right.
and you don't pet him the wrong way.
Right.
He just likes to be petted like that.
Okay.
He's a whole lot softer than you might think looking at him.
You get down.
He looks about like a Brillo pad, but he's actually pretty
Yeah.
soft.
Oh,
There it
So
is.
yeah.
Hi, dude.
So they eat a tremendous amount of food, but they digest very, very slowly. So the first studies on how slowly a sloth digests its food they put some 3mm glass beads into some sloth's food and just waited to see how long it took them to come out the other end.
Yeah.
And that was 61 to 64 days.
Oh, my
So that was the first theory on how slowly a sloth digests its food. No one seriously believes that anymore. Just seems that glass beads don't move through the digestive system the way the food does, right? Go figure.
Sure. I was gonna say.
So the next study, they put some durable dyes onto some foods that a sloth was eating and waited for the colors to come through. That worked out more in the 18 to 30 day range, based primarily on what the sloth was eating. So about 75% of their diet is leaves, and when they're eating leaves, that's almost all cellulose. Cellulose is hard to digest. Leaves are very low in nutritional value. So the leaves are more towards the 30 days into that scale, and fruit or veggies would be more towards the 18 days into that scale, but still quite slow.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised
even
didn't
though
eat
he
that
is
much.
eating
Yeah.
10%
Yeah, that's
of
what I
his
was gonna
weight,
say, and
yep.
digest that slow.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
it gets crazier than that. So he eats 10% of his body weight every day, but he only goes to the bathroom 3 or 4 times per month.
Oh, my goodness.
So that means once in a week or 10 days. So he does
Eating
that.
all that and not moving around that much.
Right.
Wow.
Well, he's eating all leaves. It'd be like,
Well,
you
you're
know, if
right.
you were
Yeah,
trying to
you're right.
survive on
You're right,
romaine
yeah.
lettuce or something.
Yeah, I
So so when he does go to the bathroom, he comes all the way down the same tree, same side of the tree, and poops in the same place that he always does every single time.
TV.
And it's solid and liquid at the same time. He doesn't even tinkle between trips down the tree. So he metabolizes his food very slowly but very thoroughly. When he goes to the bathroom, suppose it has been the full 10 days since he last came down the tree, and he ate 10% of his body weight every day, that means he has eaten 100% of his body weight since he last went to the bathroom. When he does go to the bathroom, he is going to eliminate about 1/3 of his natural body mass. So that's
That's a
epic,
lot,
right?
yeah.
So that means that he did metabolize, as in convert to energy, 2/3 of the food that he ate. But still, a pile 1/3 of his body weight. Put that back to human perspectives again. I weigh 200 pounds. Divide that by 3 and shudder, right? So yeah, bag of dog food in a 5-gallon bucket.
Right?
So the sloth digests his food thoroughly but slowly. So because he eats such low quality food and his whole system is designed around eating massive amounts of low quality food, that's a good bit of why a sloth is slow in every single way. So they're not just slow in their movement and digestion, they're slow in everything. So that means his energy budget is really, really low because he gets so poor food, not much caloric intake there. If you ever do your calorie budget and you calculate around nothing but iceberg lettuce, your calories aren't so much.
Right.
So some examples of where he has no energy beyond movement. He cannot maintain his body temperature. So he is a warm-blooded animal, but he doesn't have the energy budget to maintain his body temperature. So the daytime high in the rainforest is in the mid-80s, nighttime lows in the high 60s, and his core body temperature will cycle like this every day. So another way that he is extremely slow, I should say he's a she, but a female sloth
Flash is a male or a
Flash
female?
is a male, the other one's a female.
Okay.
But I was getting ready to talk about milk and
I
saying
gotcha,
he,
sorry.
right? I'm
I
like,
gotcha.
yeah, how do you say
Yeah,
that exactly?
I gotcha.
So
I gotcha.
a sloth can only milk for their babies for about 3 to 6 weeks.
Oh.
So they're really slow. They just don't have the energy budget to produce milk for their babies for any longer than that. He's like, coffee breast, must be dad. So so when the sloth is in the tops of the trees, he is entirely safe from predators with the exception of eagles.
Oh.
The main reason, he's very well camouflaged. That's part of the trouble of studying sloths, is being able to find them in the trees. But he only weighs 15 pounds. And suppose that his predator is a jaguar that weighs 80 or 100 pounds. That means that the sloth can go much further out the branch than the predator large enough to threaten his life can follow him. if the predator is hungry enough that he presses the issue to the point of following him all the way up to the end of the branch and the branch breaks and they both fall to the ground, the slinky-like sloth is almost certain to survive an 80 to 100 foot drop to the rainforest floor, and the predator is almost certain to not. So after they fall, the sloth will look over at the predator and he'll say, ha, ha, and back up the tree he'll go, and the predator will lay there dead. So that begs the question, why does the sloth come down the tree to go to the bathroom, right? I mean, it makes no sense. He's safe in the top, he risks his life when he comes down to go to the bathroom, so why does he do it? So, it's kind of like a lot of studies, they come out with some stupid notions first and then kind of hone in on the actual reason. So the first idea of why a sloth comes down the tree and goes in the bathroom in the same place all the times, they're just neat animals. Well, that makes no sense at all, right? You're gonna risk your life because you're just a neat animal. No.
Yeah.
And then the second theory was that they are fertilizing their own tree. Again, that makes no sense, because and they don't only live in one tree. But if he lived anywhere, if he dropped his load from anywhere in the canopy of that tree, it falls in the root pattern of the tree and it'll fertilize the tree the same no matter where it landed. So that one makes no sense. So the actual reason that the sloth comes down the tree is the sloth-moth symbiotic relationship. And it's a little bit Dr. Seuss now as I try to say sloth-moth, moth, sloth. Bear with me. So the sloth comes down the tree, same side of the tree, and poops on the exact same pile that he always poops on because of the moths. So when the sloth comes down to go to the bathroom, the moths that live all in his fur jump off of the sloth, fly off the sloth, and lay their eggs in the waste pile. And then from there, it's row, row, row your boat in around. So every time that he comes down the tree, there's new moths, because the eggs for this week are the larvae for next week, and the moths for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So there are always new moths every time that he comes down the tree. The sloth will have 125 to 150-ish moths living in his fur all of the time.
No kidding.
Yep, in the wild, not here, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
We had 100, I don't think anybody would keep a sloth if you had to have moths. So, maybe behind glass. But, so we said it's symbiotic, meaning beneficial to both sides of the equation, where parasitic would be beneficial to one side, neutral or harmful to the other side. If you guys want to take a break for a picture here, it's probably a good time. You can stand all around him like this and hand Kevin a camera and he'll be happy to take your pictures for you. I'll just keep giving him food. Good morning.
There you go. Oh, good.
Flashy.
Yeah,
Hey,
he's
where'd you go? Get Flash.
here you go, get close. You want some more? Is there a green bean hidden in there? Yeah.
I think green bean's better.
He does.
He is cool. Yeah, I say, what's his benefit from the moth? I think he's gonna
So when he's
tell us
grooming himself, the bacteria that he gets on his claws
that. Yeah,
is what helps him to metabolize everything.
gotcha.
And so he
Gotcha.
processes his food with the
gotcha.
bacterial processes
Come here.
versus ours, which is enzymatic. You can still stand under him. I can
Come
do
here.
it.
Okay, come here. Yeah, come here, dude. Come here.
She was the
I do. And I'm a teacher.
No,
too.
you're triple patient.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Alright, now go ahead and look at me normal. There we go. Good job, Flash. There we go.
Thank you.
So where are you guys in from today?
Indiana,
Where about?
LaGrange. It's called way up north. It's called.
I used to live in Liberty Center, Indiana when I was a kid.
Where's that?
Hour south of Fort Wayne.
Oh,
we-
she
that
lives in
was-
Fort Wayne.
So my family was extremely poor, and the one treat that we had was that we had season passes to the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
we love to go to the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo, and I still remember the time that the pony went 3 rounds instead of 2 with me, and I was convinced that it was because it loved me. I guess the pony couldn't count. But you've been to the pony ride? I don't know.
yeah.
I'm
They
talking
don't have
about.
it anymore.
I'm talking about 50 years ago. So
They had them.
They still have them.
They got
No, they don't.
Oh,
I think
they don't.
got
When
rid
did
of
they get
them.
rid of
use liability insurance on it's getting crazy. But they had the little wood
Yeah.
chutes that the pony go into, and then they back the pony out, and then it goes around twice, and it doesn't matter what you do, it's going twice around
Right.
back in its own little hole. And
They
yeah,
went 3 times.
I was like,
That's hilarious.
No,
the pony went 3 times.
when I was little, they had like 5 or 6 of them that just went all together.
Oh yeah. There were. To my mind, and I'm 55. I was
Right.
5 then.
Yeah.
But to my mind, there were 10 or 12 of them. But it might have been 5 or 6. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was a line of little
Yeah.
stalls, and they only went into their own stall, and twice
Right.
around is what's
Right.
going to happen. And so help me God, there you go. But I still remember the time the pony went 3 times around. And
We
It's
I live an hour north of there, like the Michigan, Indiana border.
okay.
it's just the Fort Wayne Zoo now. They got rid of the children's
They did?
part of it for some reason. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I remember the little
that's
jingle
true.
used to be on TV. The Fort Wayne Children's Zoo, a great place for me and you.
That's
But,
funny.
yeah. It's been a while.
So
But
how'd you end up in Tennessee?
I have lived in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Indiana,
Oh,
Illinois, North and South Carolina,
Gotcha.
Florida, Alabama, 20 years in Virginia while I was in the Navy.
Okay.
And then I lived in an RV for a year, so I've been to 49 of the 50 states for at least a
Oh,
few
nice.
days. And I'm
Where's
retired
the
from the
one you
Navy,
haven't?
so I've been to 70 or 80 countries. Alaska.
Huh?
I was not aware until I put it in the nav from Seattle to drive up to Alaska that it is shorter to drive to DC than it is to drive to Alaska from Seattle.
Really?
Because you have to go around the Canadian Rockies to get there.
Oh.
So from Seattle to any nameable town in Alaska is like
Yeah.
5,600 miles. So I'm like, no problem, we'll throw it on the ferry. Yeah, no problem if you don't mind $13,000 one way.
Yeah.
Because if you have 2 vehicles that can be joined, you have to pay as joined because the scale goes like that. It doesn't go like that. And so yeah, it was $13,000 one way. So I said, we'll take an inner passage later. And well, that's been 2010. I've yet to see Alaska, but it'll come one day. So anyway, sloths. I'm sure online doesn't care about.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I don't care either. A lot of these people watch me every day. Probably armies on there right now, and they've already heard everything I have to say about a sloth. But who knows?
Somebody was letting you know that they don't have the ponies. They said they live close by, and they're like, the ponies are gone.
Oh, really? It's got to be a liability insurance thing.
Yeah.
Where do they live?
That was 50 comments ago.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah,
Fort
so
Wayne, probably.
my dad was a preacher, and that he was the preacher at the one horse town in Liberty Center,
Gotcha.
Indiana.
Gotcha.
And literally that was our greatest pleasure in life that year was Fort Wayne
Fort
Children's Zoo.
So is
That's
it
cool.
like close to, or like on the way to Indy?
You know, I was like 6 years old at the time. I don't really remember. I just remember that we were an hour's drive from the Fort Wayne
Yeah,
Children's Zoo.
I've never even heard of it.
It's a wide spot in the road. I think it's
They're from Yoder.
Oh,
The person just
gotcha.
responded.
Yoder.
Yoder, is that like Grable? And,
Yeah.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, so the sloth. I think the last thing I said was that it's symbiotic, not parasitic. Symbiotic meaning beneficial to both sides. Parasitic would be beneficial to one side, neutral or harmful to the other. So the nature of the symbiosis between the two is that the benefit to the moth is that the sloth is the living environment of the moth and the food source. So the moths eat the moss and algae that is in the sloth's fur, and they fertilize it by their waste. The only 2 reasons that the sloth-moth, which that is a breed of moth, that lives nowhere in the world except the fur and the waste pile of a sloth. So the sloth-moth, the only 2 reasons it will leave the sloth in its life is to drink water that pools up in the tops of the leaves of the rainforest canopy, and to go into the waste pile to lay their eggs. That's the only reasons they leave the sloth. The benefit to the sloth is that the sloth digests his food by a bacterial process primarily. He has the same chewing motions that we do. You can see the choppers in that guy. He has more going on with his stomach than we do. It's multi-chamber, but he's digesting really crappy food. So his stomach does a lot more work. But bacteria is critical to the sloth. So we also have helpful gut bacteria that live in our guts.
Right.
They last throughout our lives unless we take a long course of antibiotics. If we do that, we need some probiotics to fix our gut health back up, or some good Greek yogurt. Either way will work.
Yeah.
The sloth, if his gut bacteria dies out, he doesn't have GNC and he doesn't have publish, so he needs another source.
I do.
So the source of the bacteria that cause the sloth to digest his food is the moths. As the sloth grooms himself, he licks up a certain amount of the moths themselves, a little bit of protein, and he licks up a certain amount of the waste of the moths. That's where the bacteria comes from.
Oh,
If a sloth gets too cold, it will kill the moths, and it will kill the bacteria, and it will kill the bacteria colony all the way through the sloth. 30 days later, the sloth will die of starvation.
oh,
Not for lack of food, but lack of ability to digest the food. If a sloth gets down to about 55 degrees, it's going to kill it. But it won't die directly of the cold, it will die of starvation, yeah.
And you said it gets down to 60?
High 60s.
High 60s, okay.
Yeah. Like 68, 69.
I gotcha.
And yeah, so the only real danger to them, you know, is the kind of the edges of the rainforest can be colder.
Yeah.
And if you take them out of the rainforest and you try to keep them captive, so like that's one of the real important things of keeping sloths is the environment has to be perfect.
Yeah.
So you see it's 78 in here
Yeah.
all of the time, 365 days out of the year,
Yeah.
and 50% relative humidity all of the time, and it's even more humid in there than it is in here. So anyhow, it is if the moths die out, the sloth will die as well. And if you're a believer in the evolution system of things, you would have a desperately hard time explaining how a bug evolved up this chain and a mammal evolved up this chain, and now the two of them have become inextricably locked and cannot move forward one without the other.
that's crazy.
Now in captivity, he doesn't need the moths. Just like us, you know, we don't have to maintain our bacteria colony unless there's a problem.
Yeah.
So we just don't let him have a problem. The only thing that would kill off his bacteria colony is cold temperature, and we never ever let the sloths get cold. When you go out to the next part, there's a little buddy heater out there that makes it hot as Hades out there if we're doing encounters out there. And we only fit 2 chairs in this room, so you guys are going to be out in the other room where we can fit 3 chairs with Zoe. And so, and then, you know, if you're going to keep a sloth, you need to be pretty much a sloth poopologist. Best way to know what's going on in the sloth is to see what came out of the sloth. Just like when you have a baby, you don't just turn the other way and change the diaper. You see what was in the diaper, because that's the first sign of what's going wrong, right? And if the behavior of the baby is wrong, you think first about what the baby ate. If you're a teenager, you don't think at all what they ate, you just think teenagers. And but anyway, yeah, with a sloth, if anything is wrong, the first thing you're thinking about is what they ate. So their diet is extremely carefully maintained. Their environment is extremely carefully maintained. And we have a consulting sloth vet who is the breeder of the next baby that you're going to see, who is involved with our sloths every day of their lives.
So this was bred in captivity, this baby?
All of them were,
All
yeah.
of them.
Yeah, taking animals out of the rainforest is a reprehensible act.
Yeah, I agree.
We would never do that.
Okay.
And we do not support anybody else doing that.
Yeah.
But before I had sloths and before I knew better, I went to the sloth petting in Honduras where the cruise ship pulls in. And it's super cute and it's fun and it only lasts about 5 minutes, but it's really awesome and it's a lifetime experience. But that was before I knew that those sloths only live maybe a month because it stresses them to death, literally to death. And they just go grab more out of the rainforest and there you have it. And I also didn't know that they pull those sloths' teeth. But anyway, so there are, well, so the government of Costa Rica has a lot of I don't know if you'd say propaganda or a media campaign about never ever pet a sloth, and because they say it always stresses them, it's always harmful to them, it messes up the biosphere in their fur, and all of these things I completely agree with if you're talking about a wild sloth. But they just make them blanket statements because they don't want to perpetuate the trade of wild animals. So, and all of those statements I completely agree with if you're talking about a wild animal. These are captive bred. This is if you took your house cat and you threw it out into the forest, it will be brief. If you bring the feral cat out of the forest into your living room, it will be ugly for all involved. And same way with these sloths. These sloths the guy that the next one you come from, the guy that the place that the next one you see
Yes.
comes from.
Yes.
He doesn't like me to name his name because he only sells to a very small set of people, and his application process is lengthy, and he doesn't like his phone to ring off the hook. But he's been breeding sloths captive for more than 30 years, and he is very, very involved in sloth conservation. And he also is looking at it from a standpoint, had there been no captive rhinos, there would no longer be any rhinos because of the point that they became extinct in the wild. Some were returned to the wild through a careful process. And sloth numbers, while they're currently of least concern, they're dropping fast. Primarily loss of habitat and power lines going through the habitat, because they move on the power lines, and just like a bird, if they're on one line, it's all good, but if they reach to the pole, fried sloth, you know. And then of course people poaching them out of the rainforest for the wild animal trade. And a little clue for anybody out there: if you see a sloth for sale and it costs less than your car, you're getting a you're getting a wild caught sloth. Yeah, don't do that. So you guys are ready now to go see Zoe. And Zoe is the one that you're gonna hold.
All right.
All right, so come with me this way. Fallon is ready for you out here.
Bye, buddy. Oh my God, it's so awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but you're going back to the heat zone. So Zoe is ready for us. Zoe and Fallon are ready for you. Right out there.
All right. Thank you. There we go.
Oh, my jacket.
Oh, go great.
And if you want to come around this side right here, there's a little bit less mud.
Yeah, Indian word.
Thank you.
And make sure to show them the tag if they get done before I'm done.
Do what? Oh,
The
yeah.
Google tag.
I'm gonna squeeze
So
in.
if you walk on this way, that's less mud, kind of.
Yeah, it's all right. I get it.
Keep it snug. There we go. Here, let me move that. So you guys will be in the wood chairs there.
Okay.
So this is Zoe.
Oh my gosh.
I was keeping her all warm and snug as a bug. So she's very easy to hold, and I'll show you guys how to hold her here in a second. The main thing is to know that you don't have to hold her like a baby, and she doesn't like to be held like a baby. So if she kind of slouches down and she leans back, let her lean back without propping her up.
Oh, okay.
So she's not gonna fall. She's hanging on to me like a backpack,
okay,
right?
okay.
So she's not gonna fall, and she's gonna hold on to you the way that she wants.
Okay.
So you're more like a tree,
Okay.
and she's holding on to you, not the other
Okay.
way around. So if she's doing that, just kind of
Just
let her
be.
Yeah. So you don't be like, oh, she's gonna fall. She's not gonna fall. And she likes the cup holder on this chair. There must be something that spilled or something on there. She always smells that out.
Oh, she's sweet.
So when I pass her to you, I always use her little stuffed animal here. And so that way, as she's being passed to you, she's not just like in limbo. So she's holding on to something. So she will reach for you. So you just kind of got to sit there like this, and she'll do all the rest. She'll reach onto you. And then when you get her, you just place your one hand up underneath her bum like that. And I always say, keep fingers together. And you just create like a ledge for her to sit on.
Okay.
So it's not, you don't want to do this where you're like grasping her, or you also don't want to do the big like cuddle arm, because again, that's all pressure on here that she doesn't like.
Okay.
So it's just like that. The other thing you can do too, you can arm and just sit like this, and she's big enough now, she can just kind of sit in your lap.
Oh, she's
And another comfortable way is you can sit like this and sit with her like that. So it's totally up to you. But that way you don't feel like you have to lift her to hold her. And then as far as petting goes, is you just do short little strokes here on the back of her neck. You don't want to touch her belly. If I do this, she'll kind of move that away. And so we're not touching her hands. And then also not her face. So their eyesight is really poor, so they would jerk away. And so we don't want to touch her face. And then if she does this on your face, or if she licks your neck, that's kind of normal when she does. But if she starts opening her mouth
Hey guys, the service isn't working enough in there to continue, so we're gonna go back inside. Morning, how are you?
Did you see I said hi to you on that?
Oh, I didn't see it.
If you want to hang your jackets up there, you're welcome to. Oh, I didn't know that Kevin was coming back with us, so let me give you the disclaimer. If you guys have ever seen us, you've probably seen us on social media, and you likely know that we live stream pretty much everything we do. So I just ask before we start that nobody here's on witness protection running from the law here with their wife instead of their girlfriend, or your boss is gonna see you here when you've called in sick from work.
We're all good.
All right. So, alive in the world today, there are two-toed sloths and three-toed sloths. Basic differences between them. A two-toed sloth is a little bit bigger and a little bit quicker than a three-toed sloth is. Their spines are set up differently. So the two-toed sloth has fewer vertebrae in their cervical spine, from their skull to their shoulders. The three-toed sloth has more in their cervical spine, skull to shoulders. So the three-toed sloth is going to turn its head 270 like an owl, two-toed doesn't. A three-toed has 3 vertebrae of a tail, two-toed has no tail. But they have the same number of vertebrae from end to end, so that means that the two-toed has more vertebrae between their hips and their shoulders. So the two-toed can turn until his hips and his shoulders are basically 180 out from each other. Let me see if I can show you how that works here. Hey buddy, come here. Hey bub. Oh, he doesn't really want a yellow squash. He's like, just give me something else. So anyway, if he's hanging down, you can turn him around with a piece of food like this, and he can turn literally until his hips and shoulders are 180 apart.
Oh, wow.
So a two-toed sloth is, yeah, just like he's about to do right here. A two-toed sloth is more like a slinky in their movement. A three-toed sloth is more like an owl in its movement. So the sloths are slow. Sloths are famously slow. But sloths are slow in ways that you may not think about a sloth being slow. So they're slow not only in their movement, they're slow in their digestion, their metabolism, their metabolic processes. They are slow in every way that an animal can be slow. So, slow in their digestion. They eat a tremendous amount of food, and they digest very, very slowly. So by tremendous, I mean that he is eating 10% of his body weight every single day. My after the holidays weight is approaching 200 pounds. So that would be me rolling up to Outback and saying, bring me 20 of the 16-ounce porterhouse steaks. Obviously, I couldn't eat 20 pounds of steak on any day of my life, much less every day of my life. But the sloth is literally going to eat 10% of his body weight every day. And yet, he goes to the bathroom only 3 or 4 times per month. So that's once in a week or 10 days. When the sloth does go to the bathroom, it is epic. So suppose that the sloth eats 10% of his weight every day for 10 days between trips to the bathroom. That would mean that he has eaten approximately 100% of his body weight since he last went to the bathroom. So he does metabolize, as in convert to energy, his food very thoroughly, but very slowly. So when he does go to the bathroom, he is going to drop about 1/3 of his natural body weight when he goes to the bathroom. So again, putting that to human perspectives, I weigh 200 pounds. Divide that by 3 and feel the shudder. So yeah, 30, 1/3 of his body mass. And we did actually weigh Zoe the night before and the morning after. She went one time, and she was 8.4 pounds the night before, 6.3 pounds the morning after, meaning that she literally eliminated 2.1 pounds. And 2.1 is exactly 1/3 of 6.3. So it's not, they really do 1/3 of their body weight at a time. So the sloth, what he eats here in the mornings is his treat food, but he has free choice on leaves all the time. That is his primary diet. Sometimes he's more hungry, sometimes he's less hungry, but he whatever he doesn't eat during his encounter, he knows that he's going to get it in his bowl later. The encounters, he comes out because he wants to. We interact with all of our animals in a way that they are comfortable with. And if you want to see the proof in the pudding, you can look back at my video from like last Friday. He didn't come down the tree. And so we just went to a different sloth. And he suffered no repercussion whatsoever. All the food that he would have got during his encounter went into his bowl in his room. There is no fault to the sloth if he doesn't feel like doing it one day. It's fine. And we never ever do encounters with any of our animals on Sunday. Sunday's a day of rest for man and beast. And so anyhow, slow in their digestion. So we said he only goes to the bathroom once in a week or 10 days. When he does, he comes down the same tree, same side of the tree, and goes to the bathroom in the exact same place that he always does. And so there were some starting out theories where they had some kind of crazy ideas of why he did that, and then there are some better theories that are proven facts for why he does that. So the first starting out theory was that a sloth is just a neat animal. Obviously it makes no sense for a sloth to risk his life to go to the bathroom because he's just a neat animal. That makes no sense at all, right? And the second theory was that the sloth is fertilizing his own tree. That again makes no sense. If he drops his load from anywhere in the canopy of the tree, just leave it. We don't feed him off the floor. If he drops his load from anywhere in the tree, it doesn't really matter where it lands. If it's under the canopy of the tree, it's going to go into the tree's root system. So that makes no sense. So the actual reason why the sloth comes down the same tree, same side of the tree every single time to go to the bathroom is the sloth-moth symbiotic relationship. So symbiotic means beneficial to both sides of the equation. Parasitic would be beneficial to one side, neutral or harmful to the other side. So the benefit to the moth, and there is a type of moth in the world called a sloth-moth. You're welcome to hang your jacket on that hook right there if you're getting pretty doggone hot in here. Yeah, it's 80 degrees in here all the time. Well, 78 all the time, because that's what the sloth needs. So the benefit to the moth is that the sloth is the food source and the living environment of the moths. Doesn't matter that you stand in front of it. It's more about you than the camera. Just people are welcome to watch if they want, but we're focused on you, not focused on the camera. So if you stand in front of it, it's fine. The benefit to the moth is that the sloth is the food source and the living environment of the moths. So the sloths, when the sloth comes down the tree, the moths go into the sloth's waste pile and they lay their eggs in the waste pile. And then from there it's row, row, row your boat in and around. So this week's eggs are next week's larvae, and 2 weeks from now is moths. So every time that he comes down the tree, there are new moths to fly up onto the sloth. So the benefit to the sloths is that they eat the moss and the algae that live in the sloth's fur. So the sloth is the food source and the living environment of the moths. There is a type of moth in the world called a sloth-moth that lives nowhere in the world except in the fur and in the waste pile of a sloth. The only reasons that the moths leave the sloth during their lifetime is to drink water that pools up in a leaf up in the top of the canopy and to get into the waste pile to lay their eggs. So when the sloth comes down the tree, he gets his hiney all the way right to the ground and goes on the same place that he always goes. The three-toed sloth takes it a step further in that 3 vertebrae tail he's got. He digs a hole in his waste pile with his tail before he goes to the bathroom. So on a 3-toed sloth, the moths are even more dense than they are on a 2-toed, because while he's digging that hole, stirring the poo, the larvae of the moths can crawl up the sloth in addition to the new moths flying up the sloth. So the 3-toed will have moths even more densely on his fur than the 2-toed does. The benefit to the sloth, we'll talk about his claws in a
That's
amazing.
amazing.
If I forget, just remind me.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on there.
I bet.
So the benefit to the sloth is that the sloth digests his food by a bacterial process. Now he's got, you've seen he's got big sharp teeth,
And his stomach is multi-chambered. His stomach does a lot of work on the food, but he's eating really poor quality food, mainly leaves. Leaves are a lot of cellulose, hard to digest, and not of much nutritional value. But for us, enzymes are more important than bacteria. For him, bacteria are more important than enzymes. So we also have helpful gut bacteria. Our gut bacteria will last, our colony of gut bacteria will last throughout our lives unless we take a long course of antibiotics. If we take a whole lot of antibiotics, we're going to need either some probiotics or some good Greek yogurt to fix our gut health back up. The sloth, if he's in the rainforest, he has no access to GNC or Publix, so he's not going to be able to get any probiotics or any Greek yogurt. So the source of the gut bacteria for the sloth is the waste of the moths. As the sloth grooms himself, he's going to lick up a certain amount of the moths themselves, a little bit of protein, and he's going to lick up a certain amount of the waste of the moths, which is how he replaces his gut bacteria. For us, our gut bacteria will die out due to antibiotics. For him, his gut bacteria would die out due to cold weather. If the sloth gets too cold, it will kill it. It won't die of the cold, though. It will die of starvation. Not for lack of food, but for lack of ability to digest the food. The sloth, because he digests his food slowly and eats really poor quality food, his energy budget is extremely low. Some examples of that are that he cannot maintain his body temperature. So the daytime high in the rainforest is in the upper 80s. Nighttime low is in the high 60s, and his body temperature will make that range of temperatures, well, not that range, but it will follow that range of temperatures every day. So if the sloth is out of the rainforest and he gets too cold, it will kill off the moths and it will kill off his bacteria colony. And 30 days later, he will die of starvation. The sloth can have about 125 moths living in his fur at all times in the wild. In captivity, he doesn't. In captivity, his bacteria colony will last throughout his life because we're never going to let him get cold. Cold temperature is what will kill off his gut bacteria. We never let him get cold. Also, dry air would be harmful to him, but it's always 50% relative humidity in his environment, and it's always 78 degrees or more when he's up at the top. And I usually start out all of my encounters with a PSA. People could watch us online and get the idea that it might be a good idea to buy themselves a sloth. That is a horrible idea, and for a number of reasons. First off, there are very, very few responsible breeders of sloths in the world, and those responsible breeders do not sell sloths to private individuals 99% of the time. And so most of the sloths that would be available to the public are captured out of the rainforest, and that is illegal in the countries that they come from, and irresponsible here. Possible to do it, but irresponsible. Your sloth is unlikely to survive in captivity if it was taken out of the rainforest. You're likely to spend, $10,000 and have something that's going to be dead in 2 months. And also it's harmful to the population of sloths when people are stealing them out of the rainforest to supply the trade of wild-caught animals. So just it's great to come here and do it, but these are pet animals. These are many generations captive bred. The guy who breeds our sloths has been doing it for 30 years, and he does not take animals out of the rainforest for breeding purposes, and he has a very large population of sloths that also, in his mind, conservationally, had there not been captive rhinos, there would be no rhinos on Earth anymore. And he also has the thought that by having a very large population of captive sloths, should it go sideways for the sloths in the wild, at least there will still be sloths. Currently, they are not endangered, but there are types of sloths that are endangered, but the sloths that we're dealing with are not currently endangered at all. But anyway, yeah, just don't look at what we do here and get the idea that it's a good idea to buy a pet sloth. It is not. So digest their food very slowly, lots of it. slow in their metabolism. So we just talked about their energy budget, that they cannot maintain their body temperature. Even though they are a warm-blooded animal, they have a wide range of body temperatures that it goes up and down every day. Also, they cannot feed their babies with milk for more than about 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the breed of sloth you're talking about. They do stay with their babies for longer than that, but they can only nourish them with milk for about 3 to 6 weeks. The baby sloths start eating solid food on day 4 of their life. The reason that a mother sloth will stay with its babies after it's done nourishing it with milk is to teach it how to survive in the world. So the three-toed sloth might stay with their babies for as much as a year. Two-toed sloth will stay with its baby for about 3 or 4 months. And we'll talk more about the baby sloths when we go on to the baby sloths. You get an excellent picture of the back of her head there.
Well, I'm getting the sloth in the background of all of us.
Yeah.
Sleeping,
If,
snoozing.
if you guys all want to stand around him, Kevin would be happy to take your group picture for you.
Great. Do you want us to take a picture of you? Can we get you in
Yeah,
there?
that'd be great.
Okay.
He wasn't into the beans today.
Yeah, not feeling
Well, let me
it.
get him a little. So this guy gets 3 servings of fruit a
Oh,
week,
That's big stuff.
and today is not fruit day, but we'll give him some peel here to pique his interest.
I said, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's gonna come down when he gives him that fruit, so you'll have a lot better
Yes.
opportunity for.
Yeah, we can do it again.
All right, so he's gonna hang right down. Hey, Bubba.
Here, I'll set around you so I can grab.
See the way he can smell it already. See the way his nose is running because he's like slobbering.
You can stand back by
Oh,
him,
give me
and
some.
then we'll get you guys to.
Great.
So if you guys want
Get
to
right up there. He's not gonna bite you.
just stand right around him
Unless
there.
you be afraid.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
All
Which
right.
camera would you
All
guys?
Yeah,
right.
I got one.
I don't know how tall our young
Stuff.
guest is
Yeah,
here. She
me
may or
too.
may
My
not want
parents
to
would
stand
know.
on the
You
chair.
wanna stand on the chair, baby?
And I'm gonna slap
Yeah,
that.
Well, she probably is good right there.
Okay.
So here you go. Here's one for you, one for you, and one for
Oh,
you.
no, we don't put them on the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, so just
He's ready
stand
though.
like in a circle around him and you get your good
So turn.
pictures that way.
There you go.
Smile like you like each other. Look this way just a little
Look.
bit. There you go. I'm trying to get.
He's
I
like,
see
hey,
you.
hey, hey, lady.
Let me get some sideways ones.
Oh, here, yeah. Look, that's all I
Now you
got.
have to have the happy smile instead of the petrified smile.
There you go. Trying to get all of them. Okay.
That's
See what
great, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah, bud.
You're welcome.
Nice. Oh, my goodness.
So some other things about a sloth. Sloths have horrible, horrible vision. So the structure of their eyes is rod monochromacy. So they have all rod cells, no cone cells, meaning they never ever have color vision, but beyond that they have horrible vision. Even in this level of light, if you look at his eyeballs, there's just little pin pricks in the middle there where his pupils are. At nighttime those will open wide up, but in the daytime he's kind of looking around like this, you know, I mean just he's seeing shapes and shadows. He literally can't see the difference between me and any person that's approximately my size. But his sense of smell is excellent. His sense of hearing is wonderful. So for better or worse, the sloth knows what I smell like and he knows what I sound like. I have been one-on-one with this sloth just about every day for 3.5 years for an hour or so every day. I am this sloth person. And yet I have never held this sloth. This sloth was raised by a guy who is breeding for zoos, not for encounters like what we do here with the babies. So his sloths are not people-oriented from birth. So this guy was in a static display for 2 years before I had him. So he was not people-oriented in this way. So this encounter that we're doing here was 2 years in the making. You can force an animal to eat from your hand just by not feeding it otherwise, but we wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So he had all his food, and just his food dish would be in his room, and I just pick his food up to hand it to him like this. And when he didn't eat it, it'd go right back in the bowl. He didn't miss out on any food. But so it took a year until he found that he would prefer to eat out of my hand than out of his dish. It took another several months till he was comfortable to eat from strangers' hands. That was some very patient friends, neighbors, employees who would stand here with me for 3 or 4 hours waiting for the sloth to want to take a bite of food from him. But now the sloth enjoys seeing people. And part of that is he only sees 2 groups of people per day. That is it. And so if you see his room here, you can see that there's smears all on the glass, mainly on his side. That's where he's up there with his nose in the glass going, come on guys, it's time. And he'll be beating the heck out of the door if I'm late like this.
Really rapid knocking.
Oh yeah, just pounding the life out of that door like that to say, hey, come on, shake a leg, time to go. So if a sloth is telling you need to hurry up, you got to check your life, right? So
He should live in Costa Rica.
Right.
That's the
yeah,
speed they like.
but say what?
In Costa Rica, that's the speed they like. That's sloth speed. Everything's slow and easy.
Yeah. Well, Costa Rica is where they're having the most problem with people kidnapping sloths. I mean, that's where the most sloths are.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're a person who lives in Costa Rica who struggles to feed their own family and the cruise ship pulls in and you can grab a sloth out of the rainforest
Sure.
and stand there with a roadside stand and $10 to pet the sloth, you're going to do that. And if the people are willing to pay $10, well, you know, if 1 out of 4 out of the 6,000 people on that ship will give the man $10, that's his monthly income. And when he's done, he's going to put that sloth right back to the rainforest, and it is not going to be good for the sloth, because in the wild they really do have a whole biosphere living in their fur, with the moths and the beetles and the moss and the algae and the bacteria and everything going on there. A bunch of people standing there petting the sloth all day and then putting it back in the rainforest. That is very, very harmful to the animal, and they don't so much care that it stresses the animal out. Just like if you went and snatched a white-tailed deer out of our forest and tried to hold it still for people to pet it, not going to go well. So, but our animals here are many generations of captive bred. So it's kind of like if you had a house cat that lived in your house for all your life. People ask, are we going to return it to the rainforest? No, this animal's never been in the rainforest. It would be like if you took your house cat and chucked it out into the forest and left. It's going to be short. And similarly, if you took a feral cat out of the forest and tried to have it live in your living room, it's going to be ugly. But we are not dealing with wild animals here. We're dealing with many generation captive bred animals. So eyes, horrible vision. Can't see hardly at all, even in this level of light, but he can't see well at night either. His teeth, he's going to live 20 years in the rainforest and he has no toothbrush. He's going to live 50 years in captivity, but even in the rainforest, he's going to live 20 years and he doesn't have a toothbrush. So his teeth have no enamel on them. They grow throughout his life like rodents' teeth. That, you know, with rodents like our kangaroos, for instance, their 2 front teeth are what are always growing, and they wear them down on external things all the time. The sloth, its canine teeth rub one against each other like this. They go down different sides. You know, our teeth always come together the same way every time. His teeth will come like this. So his teeth sharpen against his teeth. So when you're holding the baby sloth in a little while, if you hear a little tiny sound when she's laying like right next to you like this, that is the sloth sharpening her teeth against her own teeth. So their teeth will grow throughout their life, but they do not get replacement teeth. So we get 2 sets of teeth, and hopefully by the time we're old enough to have our adult teeth, we've figured it out and aren't going to need replacements after that. But he is only going to get 1 set of teeth, but his teeth will grow throughout his life. A lot of people don't know that a sloth has ears. The sloth's ear, proportional to his head, are as big or bigger than our ears proportional to our head. His ears are right there. That's what a sloth's ears look like.
Oh, look at him getting in there. And the fur's just protecting it? Does it diminish its ability to hear?
I don't know. It's like an 80s rock star. You would know they had ears either if you
Yeah,
didn't.
no, fair enough. Tom Bon
If you
Jovi.
weren't the groupie going through their hair at night, right? Whatever. But yeah, he's got. So also our online audience, some of the keyboard warriors get the idea that this sloth lives in this room. That's not at all true. But we're wrapping up our thing right now, and you guys are going to get to see how the sloth goes up.
Let's
So
do it.
he is quicker than you might likely think that he is.
He knows. Later. It's like, come out.
Oh, his belly is full. That's why he
Yeah.
stopped eating the food, and he's going to go up and he's going to take a nice long nap. Oh, sorry,
wait,
buddy.
wait.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry, Bob. It's okay. So he's going to walk right up. He's going to go up there into.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's got a big place. He's going to go in there and he's going to go up to his hammock and he's going to take a nice long nap for a while. His environment there is 2 stories tall. places to hang out, and, he's got his hammocks up there.
Yeah, my hammock up at the top
Yeah.
there.
And then if you're staying in the Camel condo upstairs, that big huge window up there is the living room of the condo.
That's a lot of space to climb, isn't it? I know he's pretty slow, but we were to the Chicago Zoo.
Yeah.
Last fall, and of course went over to see, and we probably stood there for 7 minutes while it cleared this distance and got into a hammock, and then it was gone. I think
Yeah, this
he's not gonna
guy,
be there, but
I would estimate his top speed is about 40 feet per minute. Because when we open the door in the morning, and say, "Hey, Flash," he comes scurrying right down, and he makes it from the top up there to right here in about 30 seconds.
yeah, that's pretty good.
And, so I'm estimating he can, and, if he's upstairs and it starts to rain outside, in the summertime, that door is open, he
Yeah,
can go
I was
inside
on
or
it,
outside.
yeah.
And he loves rain, and if it starts to rain, he'll like go scurrying out there.
Feels
Yeah.
like a rainforest.
Well, so here, his humidity, see, we've got this misting bar up there with
Oh,
the misting nozzle heads all in it. So he gets misted like he would in the rainforest with it filtering down on him. But, he does like natural rain, so if it's raining outside and it's a warm day, he goes outside.
What's the temperature having to be outside for you to open the door?
75.
At least 75, yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe 70,
Yeah.
but it can't be 6 anything.
Yeah.
He's hanging out in the hammock.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, he's gonna take a nap for about the next 3 or 4 hours.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like koalas in Australia. They're very reticent of people and, Susan most of the time after they eat.
Right.
They don't want interaction naturally.
Alright
And a
guys,
koala
we're
is
getting ready
actually the most
to,
expensive animal to keep in
have
captivity.
So we should.
Spend time with some baby
The only
Zoe.
thing that they can
But we're gonna go
eat
outside
is
the
little
main
things
area
that you can
until
grow.
we're ready to
One
do
of the
that.
things You can grow them. So if you are talking to USDA about getting licensed for koalas,
I'm gonna
they
squeeze that way.
say that you need to prove that you can budget $750,000 a year to feed your
A
koala.
year, oh my gosh.
Before I do anything about it.
They're wrapping up in there, guys. Are you doing a sloth counter too?
Yeah.
Just waiting on them? Okay.
For a second, I thought you had like a really big iPad. It's like,
Hey guys, this is Abu. This is one of our dromedary camels. And we have 2 dromedary camels here at Ocoee Riverside Farm. If you're ever wondering the difference between dromedary and Bactrian camels, dromedary is easy to remember because if you put a D over on its side, it only has 1 hump, like you're seeing there for Abu. If it's a Bactrian camel, they have 2 humps. And inside the camelid family, we also have llamas and alpacas. We do not have vicunas or guanacos. And then over here are some of the babies. Let's see if we can tilt this down a little bit. And so this is Tyler, like Steven Tyler. Dude looks like a lady. And then one of the Reyes is in there. And I think Llama Del Rey is hanging out back there, yeah. So the black one is Llama Del Rey. And when it's cold and rainy outside, we let the animals come inside because we have the capability to do that. And they actually just got brought in, but the zebra and the donkeys are outside. There is a zebra named Marty. I'm gonna go move some chairs around for Zoe, and then we'll get started. The two in there, the two bigger ones are Rosie and Josie.
Yeah, we're going to. Yeah, I'll bring her in. And there's a horse ride at 12. All right. So we're not hard sell of anything at all, but if anybody wanted, t-shirt or a hoodie or any of that stuff, stuff here that you can get if you want it. And if you had a good time, we'd very much appreciate a Google review. I have one of the tags, you can just scan it.
Yeah, it's ours. There's a blue one in there.
Okay, well, do you want them?
I'll grab one, sure.
I just saw them now.
Thank you for asking about it.
Yeah, we did. Folks tune in. If you want to give us a Google review, you just either tap it or, oh, thank you. Did you want a 2 or a 3?
Do you have the pink one?
Yes.
Or green and a green?
And the hoodies are more than the sweatshirts are. The hoodies are, you want a pink one? All right. Let me get somebody to get that. 2 of you are going back in here and it's hot.
Oh, okay.
John, do you need me to do something?
I'm gonna see if Vlad can bring a hoodie down.
Okay.
You know,
Hey, Siri, call Vlad.
let me do this one.
Want that one?
Yeah,
Hey guys, we're gonna see baby Zoe here in just a minute. We are hanging out with Abu the camel while we get ready. Not quite a TV show yet. Hey Mama Hamish, we will be looking at baby Zoe here in about 5 minutes. Free your boy Abu. Well, Abu likes hanging out with us, and so he's probably a really good friend of ours. So we're not gonna let him go, but if we let him go, he would just stay here anyway. Him and Ed are basically bonded together, and they like hanging out. And what's really cool is Ed is probably the biggest camel here in North America. Look how much bigger he is. Guys, he weighs 1,750 pounds. How crazy is that?
So you got to see the kangaroos? No, we never pet it. We never pet the baby.
More some weather than I do, and what else? It is like a
They might spit, but they don't spit at us. They're really nice.
t-shirt. See, if you want something.
Their fur is so fluffy.
And we'll have about another 30 designs up on Shopify in the next week or so. We're just finishing some things.
Yeah. So,
Feel their fur is so fluffy. Like, can you buy me a blanket that's not fluffy?
bless you.
So all the Chewbacca sounds that you hear in Star Wars, those are all camel.
Are they?
noises.
Yeah, I think I knew that, yeah.
Yeah.
This one looked like it was bleeding on the side of it.
Sometimes they kind of scratch themselves
Yeah,
a little
I
bit
wondered.
just on that. But they are completely bonded together. So the
Yeah.
first time they got brought down here, they couldn't see each other, and that did not go
They were
well.
not happy.
No, they wanted to be right next to each other. So even when we do camel rides, they both have to be out there because they don't want to do anything unless they're hanging out with each other.
Yeah.
But Abu is such a friendly feller that he thinks he's a guard dog. So when we're out there collecting emu eggs, the emus don't get too excited about that. And so he'll follow us around and kind of like lope and
Yeah.
gallop like how a puppy would.
Yeah.
And it looks hilarious. Because he's basically just a huge dork and it's awesome. But he comes up and like wants to nuzzle. And I think when my beard grows out, it's so like red. He's like, what is that?
Who are you?
Yeah.
How long have you guys had them?
They've been here for 3 years.
Okay.
And they are sweethearts. All right, guys.
The only kind that have a sloth on them are these,
Okay.
and we have black or gray, but the only grays are large and the only.
The service doesn't work in there.
Oh.
All right, guys. Let me finish setting up this camera here. I know we're kind of bouncing around. I'm gonna